People are like, where are you gonna wear them? I'm like, it's called leisure wear. Like I'm gonna be leisurely. I'm gonna lounge in these just for fun in the winter or in the summer. I don't know. Hey everyone, I'm Melissa from Knitting the Stash, and this is episode 173 in the series. Welcome back to the yarn room. It's lovely to see all of you. I have one question for you today, just one. Would you wear woolly hot pants? That's it. It's a big topic. It's a big question. I have broached this topic with a few people, and I've mostly been met with derision and just kind of like laughter and scorn. And I think it's because like we're used to the long underwear. Like the wool long underwear, long pants, right? I mean, that seems like a staple. The wool sweater, a staple. The woolly hot pant, not so much. So I'm knitting some woolly shorts right now. You might call them hot pants. And I want to talk about their construction, and I want to talk about whether or not you would wear wool shorts. Like, is that an oxymoron, wool and shorts? Like, why would you do that? It's kind of like wool t-shirts. Those are actually really useful, by the way. So I think the wool short, we need more wool shorts in the world. I'm going to talk about the wool shorts I'm working on. I'm going to talk about some other wool pants / shorts I've made. That's where it's mostly going. But we also have a finished Weatherman sweater, and I even have a photo of Jean wearing the sweater. So yay, that one worked out really perfectly. We have a little bit of Mal stuff, make along to talk about, and a giveaway winner. That's what I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, we have a giveaway winner. Barbara Hudak on YouTube. Congratulations, you've won the sock blank that was made by Sweet Georgia Yarns. Send me your mailing address at knittingthestash@gmail.com and I will get that right in the mail to you. I sent a little message to you over on YouTube, but congratulations, yay. And thanks to everybody who entered. It was so nice to see all of your patterns and the things that you're working on. It's like, it's really great to crowdsource these things to see what's kind of like cool right now and what the cool people who are watching the podcast are making, because we tend to be on the same kind of wavelength, so I could check out all those patterns. Thank you so much for all of the inspiration and information. I really appreciate it. Okay, before we jump in to hot pants, we'll do hot pants first, because who can resist the hot pants? I have to tell you a few things. Number one, what I'm wearing, because you always ask. This is the Aileas sweater by Isabell Kraemer. Love Isabell Kraemer's designs, as a lot of you do too. It is knit in an Illinois local Shetland yarn that I dyed myself. And I absolutely love this sweater. It's like one of my favorite sweaters of all time. So I actually knit two of them. I would probably knit a third or a fourth. Aileas, Isabell Kraemer, amazing. And yes, the buttons were put on by Spencer. These buttons haven't had to be replaced. My other version of Aileas, I had to replace the buttons because Tink, when she was a puppy, totally ate those, but not ate them, didn't like eat them, but like chewed on them. And the whole button band of that sweater got messed up, so I had to get new buttons. But these are the original, so that's pretty cool. And then you often ask, this is just the eye candy for the episode because I can't put woolly shorts on. I guess I could try to put woolly shorts on the model. That would be an interesting thing to do. I didn't try it, so you're stuck with just a random eye candy shawl. This is Rebel 2 by, is it Lisa Robinson? I want to say it's Lisa Robinson. I'll put it down here. I knit this a very long time ago. This is a brioche shawl. It was actually my first brioche project, and I absolutely love it. It is just gorgeous. I'm sure there are mistakes and everything, but it's one of those shawls where you're just like, whoa, that's really cool. So that's your eye candy for today. And then the last thing I usually say is where you can find me in case you're looking for me, in case you're new. I am over at knittingthestash.com, and I'm knitting the stash just about everywhere. So here on YouTube, on Ravelry, on Instagram, on the website, Knitting the Stash, you'll find me. And the website does have classes, online classes. It has the Flock Farm yarn shop with lots of indie yarns. So check it out if you're new and you haven't been over there yet. Let's do hot pants, shall we? I'm going to show you my hot pants. So I have been working on I think it's pronounced Hielo, Hielo, shorts, and this is a pattern that is in the latest one of the latest Len magazine issues. It was the Finnish Knits issue. They did like a separate magazine for that, and I fell in love with them. So just the color work on them, they look fun. I wanted to knit something other than a sweater, so you get pants. You know, it's like pants are interesting because of the way that they're designed. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But these are actually by Laura Pajula, Pajula, and Liisa Saarenmaa. I'm probably not pronouncing everybody's names correctly, but Finnish knits from Len magazine, January 2025, the Hielo, Hielo, Hielo. I really wish I knew how to pronounce that. I've been calling them the like Helio shorts, which is probably completely incorrect. Live with it, right? Okay, so yeah, these are my personal hot pants. And I say that for a couple of reasons. I obviously modified the pattern quite a bit. If you look at the pattern, these pants are like high rise. I'll try to put some of the photos up in here. You'll see that the band is like pretty high, and then the legs go down probably mid thigh. I'm not such a high rise person, and I'm not such a mid thigh person, so yeah, I shorten these quite a bit. And if you were measuring the rise, we were talking about this on the Saturday Zoom group. If you measure the rise, we're trying to, what is that called? It's the rise in the pants. From like the crotch area, or where the legs separate, up to where the top of the, you know, band is for the pants. I went with more like a 7, I think about an 8-inch rise. That's very low rise, I think. That's like 1990s low rise. Not even today's low rise. Today's low rise is still a pretty high rise as far as I'm concerned. So I went with like an 8-inch rise here. I think the pattern calls for 11 inches or something like that. It just seemed too much for me. And then I'm shortening the actual the leg portion by quite a bit as well. So this will be, I mean, they still offer some coverage, all right? Don't get me wrong here. I'm not talking about hot pants. We're not talking about like booty shorts. These are like, you know, I can wear them around and not be embarrassed. I promise you. So the legs are like, I'm not sure exactly how long this ended up being, maybe like 12 inches total. And they'll have a turned hem at the bottom, you know, just like at the top here. The thing about these that, I mean, there are a lot of things I changed about them aside from the rise. I also inverted the colors up here. You'll notice in the original pattern that the contrast color is supposed to be the main color for the band. So you get a contrast color, then you get the color work, and then you go into just the main color down for the legs. I just didn't really, I didn't like the look of that. So I put the main color on the outside. I also, one of the reasons for this was that I didn't like the contrast initially, but I also wasn't sure I had enough of this beautiful green yarn. And we'll talk about the yarn in a minute. This is Feederbrook Farm's BFL, and this is one of my contributions to the make-along that we're doing, which is the Use It or Lose It make-along, which is all about using things in our stash that we find to be like super precious and we haven't used. This is BFL that I have been holding on to for like a decade, and I love it, and I'm so glad I used it. So this is your inspiration to get out there and use the stuff in your stash that you're like, oh, it's too precious, I shouldn't use it. But I only had 1 skein of the green, and I had 3 skeins of the purple. I think you're supposed to have, for the pattern, 2 skeins of the contrast and 3 of the main color. Plus with my yarn, which I'll explain in a minute, I had no idea the yardage. So I just kind of was like, 3 skeins, looks good. 1 skein, we'll see. So that was the other reason I decided to go with the contrast color on the inside, just a little peak of color, but not on the outside. It saved me a little bit of yarn just in case I needed it. And it turns out I was fine, but yeah, choices, right? So I also really like that the peak of green. We were joking about this on the Saturday Zoom too. Like, I think it was last weekend, where a lot of us are knitting spring colors at this point, because I think we're all just like over winter. I'm usually a winter person, but I am over winter this year. We have like chunks of ice outside and it's not going anywhere. So I'm like, yeah, green, purple, this looks perfectly springy to me. So thus the internal contrast color, which I quite like. And then color work, I modified. You'll notice on the pattern, the color work goes on quite a bit. Because this rise in the pattern is about 11 inches, they have more room for color work than I did. And as I was getting to the point where I was like, oh, I kind of need to adjust the rise, I didn't plan ahead. Note to self, Melissa doesn't always plan ahead. She just kind of does stuff sometimes. So since I didn't plan ahead, I got down to like the bottom of the diamonds here, and I was like, ooh, I need to shorten this. Is the color work going to look funny? And I found that since I was at the bottom of the diamond, I could, the next part of the pattern kind of replicated or inverted the upper part of the pattern. I hope you can see that on the camera. So I just stopped. I omitted a single dot in here, a single stitch in the middle of these little triangles to kind of mirror the ones at the top. And I just stopped so that there's quite a bit of parity here. I think it's 7 rows and 7 rows, something like that, just to give it a little mirroring. It looks kind of nice, I think. And then I could work I wanted to kind of show this to you all before it was finished because it's pretty interesting. I could work the gusset. So this particular set of pants does have gusset increases in the front and the back, and you can see those there to create enough space for like your 2 legs and your butt. And it also has short rows for your butt. So just like short rows on the back of the neck, most bottoms need a little bit of short row to create a little, place for the bottom. So that's what these do. This pattern does have that. And then I shortened the legs a lot. So the legs were supposed to be, I think, 5 inches from the separation, and I think I've gone like 1.5 inches, maybe just 1 inch. And then this is the contrast color. You can see I've attached, I've picked up stitches all along the inside with a second needle. I know this is probably very hard to see because there's so much going on here. Let me explain what's going on first, because then it'll be easier to see. These needles over here are just holding the leg stitches on this side, like waste yarn, okay? That's what those needles are doing. Then I have 2 sets of needles over here. One set has knit down on the legs all the way to the contrast color. That's what these needles are right here. I'll try to pull these out so you can see them. So that's what those are. And then this last set of needles is they're the needles that I use to pick up stitches along the inside of that leg so that I can fold down my contrast color and do 3 needle bind off on the inside of the leg. Pretty good. The other option here would be to just bind off and then whip stitch it down. That would be totally fine too. I do think that these shorts are going to look nice with the kind of finished leg look, just like the upper band. So you got a purl turn row, and then it will have a little bit of a finish on the bottom. Plus I think the weight of that is kind of nice, a little extra fabric to kind of hold those shorts down, keep them from rolling, all that kind of good stuff. Since they are so short, I know some of you are going to be like, those are so short. This is why I asked the question about the hot pants, right? Would you knit them? People are like, where are you going to wear them? I'm like, it's called leisure wear. Like I'm gonna be leisurely. I'm gonna lounge in these just for fun in the winter or in the summer. I don't know. They're just fun. They're like wool shorts that are adorably cute. I don't know. Where else do you wear wool shorts? I mean, I don't think I'm gonna wear them for like a triathlon. I'm not gonna wear them to the pool. Like they're just to lounge around in, maybe sleep in, that kind of thing. Are you on my same page yet? I don't know. I don't know if I'm convincing you that wool hot pants are a good idea. Most people are like, it's wool and it's shorts. So do you want to be hot or do you want to be cold? Like, what is, it's like, it's a confusing kind of thing. So weigh in, please weigh in. Okay, those are most of my modifications for the pattern, I think, so far. And I did do a similar kind of folded band up here to the leg band. You can see an opening. You're supposed to put elastic in these. They actually fit perfectly just the way they are, and I think they'd stay up just fine. You could also do a drawstring. You could do a couple like buttonhole type things in the front and do a drawstring. That would be really cool too. I'm opting for elastic. I don't know where my main piece of elastic went. I think Spencer took it to the sewing room or something, but it didn't work. I bought some elastic that was maybe 1.5 inches thick, that was meant for the tops of pants and leggings and things like that to really hold them up. But I found it to be too stiff. Like we put it in, Spencer sewed it up, and I put on the shorts, and it was fine. It works, but it just felt too stiff for like leisure wear. I'm not in the woolly hot pant market so that I can have a real like stiff upper like band around my waist. So I decided to try something different. I wanted like basically a lighter weight elastic. We'll see if this is definitely a little bit lighter weight. It's also very thin. It might be too thin. I might need like an inch elastic that's very kind of lightweight elastic. I'm just not sure. We don't have a lot of elastic lying around, so I grabbed that to see if it would work any better. I think I just need like a 1 inch lightweight. Yeah, unfortunately our I know this is happening around the country, but like our Joann Fabrics is closed here, and then it closed in the next town over. So we don't really have access to like a sewing store where there's like lots and lots of different elastic. So I'm trying to order stuff online, and it's like I said, it's too stiff, or it's too like hardcore, or it's too thin, or, you know, it's just elastic. It's a game we're going to have to play for a little while, but at least they work without the elastic. And I might just end up doing like a drawstring. I don't know. We'll see. They're for fun. Yeah, so that is the pent. This is not the first pair of woolly hot pants I have knit. For those of you who have been around a long time, actually, I'm not sure if I would have podcasted about this. I knit a pair of, we called them dance pants. They were like kind of just below the knee, pants for my friend Cynthia, who's a dancer, and she wanted some pants for warming up. So she bought the yarn. I did not have a pattern at that point. This was like early in my knitting career. And so I went to, and at that point I really couldn't find a whole lot of leggings on Ravelry. One was Rhoda by Drops, which is a free pattern. One was Kalaloch by Andrea Rangel. She has a pair of leggings out there. And I kind of mashed those up together. And I was also looking at, I don't think I actually bought Andrea's pattern. I think I just used the Drops pattern for like the basics. And then I also looked at, this is going to sound weird, but I looked at a lot of baby pants patterns to see how they did the gusset and the kind of like short rows for the back. I know, baby pants, weird. But there just weren't a lot of good examples out there of patterns at that point that had the elements that Cynthia wanted in her dance pants. So I really just kind of like mashed it all up and just kind of like used some common sense. I'll put some pictures in here of the finished pants. They came out really well. And I don't know that I've knit other pants since then, though I really find knitting pants to be really kind of fun. Thus, one of the reasons why I'm knitting random hot pants. It's a slightly different like construction than the sweaters, but it's equally fun because it's also really challenging to get things right. Like I know with these pants, I not only did all the modifications I told you about, but I also did a lot of modifications because of gauge and because of sizing. The patterns didn't have a schematic, but it did have sizing for like the waist and the hips and things like that. But because I was knitting from a different point to a different point, I just had to kind of use different measurements and then also make it work with the color work repeat. And you know, there were other mathematical things going on there. And with Cynthia's hot pants, I think that was maybe one of the earlier YouTube videos I did about knitting math was based on those hot pants. So if you really want to go back and like take a time travel like journey, you can go back, and I will link below in the show notes to the old video where I do like knitting math with those pants. So you'll actually see part of that design process if you're interested. It was early on, and I was learning, and I was happy to just like try things out. So I'm still, you know, we're all still doing the same things. We're still learning and figuring stuff out. Nowadays, there are some pretty cool pants out there. There's I think they're either Norwegian or Finnish. It's like Pickles and something or other. I can't remember the names. I'll try to put it in the notes here. They design tons of pants, and they're really cool. Like even overalls and like onesies for like adults and stuff like that. They're really, really neat. And my friend Marnie McLean, who you all might know from the knitting world, she's a really awesome. She was in the business with us for a long time. She has a pattern called Assets of Eve, which are actual, like, seriously booty shorts. They're pretty amazing. And that's a free pattern now because she's just made all of her patterns free, in case you're interested. Yeah, go check out Marnie McLean's stuff. Beautiful shawls, cool sweaters, really just interesting ideas about knitting. I've always really admired her design. So there are plenty of other pants out there now. I know that Jelaine in the Saturday Zoom group just knit a pair of like long leggings. So, and I think Stephen West has a kind of like marley pant legging kind of thing too. I mean, there are lots and lots of patterns out there nowadays, so that you can actually figure stuff out. This one was great because it's just a very simple gusset and short rows for doing the shaping. So I thought that was really, it's a nice model. Like if I were to ever make longer leggings or another pair of shorts, I feel like this pattern is a really nice recipe for how to get the fit that you're looking for. So yeah. So the question is, would you go for the woolly hot pant? I want to know. And let me tell you a little bit about the yarn. I put the yarn back here. This is the other Feederbrook Farms yarn. Back in the day, this is an old yarn story. This is why it's been in my stash for so long. These are the two colors I'm using, by the way. One is complete BFL. The other is a BFL yak. Let me see what else is in there. It's BFL yak and silk. The green is BFL yak and silk. It feels amazing. So Feederbrook Farms. This is Liisa Westra and Jan van Bieber. And I interviewed them, oh my gosh, back in like 2015 or 2016 for the blog. They run Feederbrook Farms, which is in Baltimore County, Maryland. And they have a really nice spinner's flock of a bunch of different kinds of sheep. So they don't just have BFL, but I do think that their BFL yarn is really just gorgeous. And I looked on their website just to update myself. They're still doing it. They have entropy yarns, which could be really beautiful for those kinds of patterns where you need a yarn that has some barber poling and marling and things like that. They are making entropy yarns. They're kind of similar to Stonehenge Fiber Mills makes a crazy yarn, which is a lot like that. And there are some other more expensive yarns on the market that also have that kind of look. It's like a hand spun kind of look. Anyway, Feederbrook Farms has entropy yarns that look like that. They also still have a lot of BFL solid tones, just like the stuff that I have in my stash, all these different colors. I actually acquired this yarn from Liisa because she was selling off a bunch of test dyes, basically. So she was trying out a bunch of new colors, and she was teaching about dyeing. So she had a bunch of skeins that were kind of like she had dyed, and she was trying to figure out what to do with them, and I bought the lot. This is similar to some of the entropy yarn that they have over on the website, but I think their entropy yarn has gotten more contrasty even than this. So I love this skein. This is like, I may never use this skein. And then I have a bunch of Feederbrook Farm, just different kinds of sheep. So this is like thin. I know I have the BFL. I'm not sure what, a lot of them are undyed. This one is this one? This is Polworth. So there are a bunch of different undyed, breed-specific skeins that I got back in the day, and they're all in my stash here. So I just pulled out a few skeins of this yarn to use for the woolly hot pants, and I'm really glad I did, because the BFL is gonna, you can see it has like that beautiful luster to it. The color work is just pops, especially with this contrast. And the luster is just amazing. It's soft. If you've ever knit with BFL or spun with BFL, like, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, you should absolutely try it. It is just a wonderful yarn. I love BFL. BFL is great for socks. It's great for sweaters. It's great for accessories. It's one of those yarns that's just, it's got a little bit of the toughness of a longer wool. It's got a little bit of the luster. The sheep are adorable. So anyway, I'm a BFL fan. And I feel really extra lucky to have this lot of yarn from Lisa's early dyeing days, and the breed specific stuff, because it's just really cool. You know, I love indie farmers and shepherds, and yeah, it's like a treasure trove. And I had originally planned, I think, to use it for my blanket. Yeah, for the Persian Dreams blanket, and I knit up one of the what are they, octagons? Octagons in the BFL, and I couldn't bring myself to do it. I just wanted to save it for something special, and I'm kind of glad I did, because now I just want to knit with it all the time. It's an awesome yarn. So anyway, BFL, Feederbrook Farms. Go check out what Liisa and Jan are doing. They're doing great work with their sheep. So that's Woolly Hot Pants for you, and I think we should switch over to the Weatherman, which is the finished sweater for Jean. I am going to actually go do a little wardrobe change, because I want you to see the Weatherman that I created for Jean, and I want you to see my original Weatherman, so I'll wear one, and we'll put the other on mannequin, and we'll have some fun. All right, by the magic of film and camera, I have now transformed myself to be wearing my version of the Weatherman, which is the original older version of the Weatherman, in the original palette. This is the one that was hanging up on the mannequin last episode. I just thought I'd put it on, because that way you get to see double. You get to see both versions of the Weatherman. As I said, this is the original color palette. It's all the browns and kind of oatmeals and whatnot. Not colors that I would usually wear, but I do love this sweater, and I think it's kind of cute. This is Jean's version, which I was starting to show you on the last episode, and I think I had gotten about 2 maybe here or so. I had just started some of the color work and just split for the sleeves. So Jean had requested a palette of blacks and kind of grays and whites, so that's what we went with overall. And I made a few modifications, as usual, on this sweater. So especially having knit it this second time, I think it's worth like going over some of the different changes. One of the things that I can't remember if I did in the original is add short rows. I think I did. I feel like I remembered to add short rows, and I did that again with this version, because the pattern for the Weatherman doesn't have any short rows built into it to raise the back neck. And I added short rows in 2 different places. So the first place is right here, right after I added the sleeves and the body together, all to, to work circularly in the round. I added a set of short rows here in the back that kind of like wrap around just a little bit of the front of the sweater and kind of like work their way back to create a little bit of a lift here at this point in the sweater before the color work starts. And then I also added short rows up here. I'm not sure the camera's going to totally catch that. Hopefully it will be. But up at the very top of the neck, before after the color work, but before I changed over to the turtleneck. That way the whole sweater, I think if you were to look at it from the side, you'd be able to see it better. The back is up here, and the front neck is all the way down here. So you've got a couple of inches of lift for the sweater, which creates just more comfortable, right? It's not going to ride up on your neck as much. Yes, it's a turtleneck, so of course it's on your neck, but it doesn't give you that kind of feeling of like, oh, the top of my sweater is like right up against my throat in a very uncomfortable kind of way. So I would totally recommend adding short rows to this sweater because especially it's possible, you have room. It is a very wide, deep yoke, I guess, rather than wide. So it may feel like you don't have as much room to add the short rows, but you do right after you put the sleeves on. There is some room, and then especially if you're going to modify the neckline, even if you're not, having a little bit of blank kind of main color space up here doesn't really change the look of the sweater, and it really changes the feel of the sweater. So I think that's pretty cool. I also, as I mentioned, this time I did not provisionally cast on the sleeves. So for this sweater, if you're looking up close here, you can probably see it. Right about here, I provisionally cast on and then worked the sleeves down and the yoke up. So these stitches are half a stitch off if you look closely at the actual thing, but you can't see it because that's right where the color work starts, right? This one, I just knit the sleeves from the bottom up to here, the right length supposedly. Hopefully. Jean hasn't tried this on yet, so we're hoping for the best. And then, you have sleeve stitches on hold, and you have body stitches on hold, and then you Kitchener everything together in the end. So my underarms are Kitchenered. I'm very happy with them. I love a good underarm, as you all know. So on both sides, I think you'll be able to see it over here. Yeah, I mean, it's like a very nice, if I do say so myself, it's a very nice Kitchenering grafting job there. So that's all finished. I haven't totally woven in all the ends on this sweater yet because Jean is trying it on this evening, and there are a couple things I might want to change, so I just want to have access to all my ends. I'm not so much worried about, I should actually probably weave in some of these. The two things I'm wondering about are whether or not the sleeves are long enough or too long, and then whether or not she's happy with this neckline. So that was kind of the other major mod, obviously, that I did for the Weatherman is, you can see here, this is the original. I think this is pretty close to the original. I might have done something different, but probably not too much. So the original, you kind of get to the neckline. It's a pretty open neckline, and then you go around with a couple rows of ribbing. Is that what I have here? I think that's what I have here. I'm not sure. I'm going to put an I-cord on. But in the original pattern, you're supposed to put a little bit of ribbing right at the top. So with this version of the sweater, once I got to the neckline, it was actually pretty open still. And so I did a couple of extra rows of decreases right away, like a decreased row, a plain row, a decreased row, a plain row. Then I worked my short rows to lift the back neck just a little bit more. And then I started working a 1x1 rib for the turtleneck that Jean had requested. So I have to see if she likes the fit of this. I did a tubular bind off at the top, so you can see it's nice and stretchy and open, you know, as far as like, you know, getting it over your head. But because of the rows of decreases here, it definitely adds some structure to that portion, like right on the shoulders and the neckline. And I think it's pretty stretchy. You know, if you go to put this on, there's still a lot of, you can see there's a lot of stretch in here, you know, as far as getting your head in. But I just want to see if the turtleneck is the right height, if it feels too close or too far. You know, turtlenecks are a little bit, I feel like I'm picky about turtlenecks, so I just have a feeling that other people might be picky about turtlenecks. Like if you buy a sweater at a store, you kind of have to live with the turtleneck as it is. But like, since I'm making this for her, I just want her to have the turtleneck that she wants. So one of the things we talked about is that she didn't want it to be a turned collar, like a turned turtleneck. You know, that would be too thick, she thought, and too kind of too much material. So we went with a single layer, a 1x1 rib, and not too tall. When I try this on, I think I'll take some pictures with me wearing it so you'll be able to see at least. It comes up to about here on the neck, which seems comfortable enough. I feel like you don't want a single stand-up turtleneck that's not folding over, that's like coming way up. It just doesn't seem quite right to me, like style-wise or comfort-wise. So anyway, I went with about like 3 inches of turtleneck. So we'll see. I just wanted to try it on and see. The nice thing about the neckline on this one is that because you are working it from the bottom up, I could just rip out the neck, start over. If she decided that she wanted it to be like this rather than a turtleneck, you could totally just rip it out very easily and re-knit it. If she wants a different kind of turtleneck, if she wants it looser, if she wants it higher, all of those things are very possible to change really super easily. The sleeves will be a little bit trickier to change just because, you know, I should have probably done the provisional cast on them down, because then I would very easily be able to shorten or lengthen them. As it is, if the length isn't quite right, I will probably do what I do in I have a tutorial up about adding length to a sweater. Since these are bottom up sleeves, I would basically just cut in, you know, cut a stitch, unravel it, pick up the stitches, and then decide if it needs to be longer or shorter. And I could always, if I do clip the stitch up here, I could always graft the cuff back on. I mean, that might be a little bit silly because cuffs are so easy to knit down. But anyway, the sleeves won't, I mean, it's totally possible to change them if they're the wrong length. I've measured them. I measured them based on Jean's measurements, based on the pattern measurements. I measured them after they blocked. They should be okay. But you know, you never know until you put that sweater on, because there's always a little bit of play, you know, between the yoke and the shoulder and the depth of how the yoke and things like that. So you just kind of have to, like even these sleeves on me, if I'm just standing there, they kind of hang perfectly to my wrist. But the minute I, you know, go to reach for something, they slide up. So, you know, it's like, to each his own. You got to figure out what the person likes. So if Jean likes the sleeves this length, they will stay. And if not, I can change them. Same with the collar. And then in the end, I'm very happy with the color palette. That was the last thing I was going to say. Like I said, on the original, I just went with the colors that were called for, because like I said last time, I was kind of nervous about, at that point when I was knitting this, I was a little nervous about like, how do I choose the colors and really work, and but this one I'm very happy with. So like I said, this is a Rauma yarn, Rauma garn Fivel is what it is. It turned out to be really soft, like very soft after washing, and it's kind of bloomed really nicely, so I'm very happy with that. And this one, like I said last time, is a Lopi, so different feel, a little scratchier, a little toothier kind of yarn. So we did get all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 contrast colors in there, and I think they flow really kind of cool. I like the way they flow. I think they're kind of cool. I like the darker gray at the bottom going all the way up to the white, which is kind of what you have here with the brown going up to the white. But that little pop of color in the middle just it draws your eye in, and it just makes you want to like look at the geometric pattern in a different kind of way. So I'm very happy with it. I guess all that is to say, don't be afraid to have some fun with your color palette, I guess. Think outside the box a little bit. Even if you have a main color that's a black and you're thinking mostly grays and whites, you can add like a pop of color in there, and it really does kind of change the whole look of the sweater, I think. Yeah, so this is my second version of the Weatherman by Dagbjört Guðmundsdóttir. Yeah, I'm really excited to bring this over to her and let her have her new sweater. Maybe it'll all work out, and I'll just sit there and we'll play some cards, and I can weave in the ends, and it'll be done, if there aren't any mods. So we'll see. I hope you enjoyed that little segment on the Weatherman. What a great sweater. Again, I just can't stress how much I love Dagbjört Guðmundsdóttir's patterns. They're beautiful, and you should knit them if you can. I think that's just about it for today. We did the giveaway winner. We did all the hot pants. I want to hear from you about the hot pants. And I just want to thank the Patreons. So that is Bethany, Laura, Lenore, Jennifer, Rose, Kendra, and Nargis. You all make this possible for me to come up to the yarn room and enjoy some time with you all on the camera and knit things. And thank you. It's wonderful. And thanks to everyone else who's supporting on Patreon, Ko-fi, and just with comments, shares, likes, all that stuff. It's just wonderful. I love to hear from y'all. I hope some of you will join more of us on the, I hope more of you will join us on the Saturday Zoom. Send me an email if you'd like info about it. Otherwise, I will see you in the next episode. Take care. Happy knitting. Bye-bye.